Good morning. Good morning, Israel. Awaken. Awaken, my brothers and sisters. Oh, it's cold. It's rainy. Low hanging clouds. It's about 6 in the morning. The sun hasn't come up yet. Yeah, but I'm a little late. And I didn't do any recording yesterday. I didn't make anything. I neglected you. I'm sorry about that. I thought I would in the afternoon, but I had to take care of my own stuff. And come on up here. Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. All right. Off, off. Okay. Go get your food. Lay down. Oh, she wants to be pet. Okay. I think that's my job. No teeth. No teeth. Everything's got to go into the mouth. She's still a puppy at a year old. Okay. Good girl. Good girl. Hey, no teeth. No teeth. Down. Down. Head in my lap. Looking at me, pressing my hand. Down. Licking my hand. Come on now. What did I say? Yes. Oh, no. Come on. I did not record anything yesterday, and I apologize for that. And I know I'm getting a slow start this morning on this one. And I really think I probably should give you, here on the 30th of December, a little after 6 in the morning, a little bit of an overview of my view of the way things are. I was really going to put this on the other channel, the Dr. Kent show on Dr. John Taylor Kent here on YouTube. Yesterday's show was 2 parts. I think it's fairly comprehensive. I started off on the 14th Amendment, and I got into some misconceptions I had. I actually fessed up and told you how I was in error on something. I don't remember what that mistake was, but anytime I can get corrected, I will be corrected, that's for sure. We've covered somewhat the recovery of the Republic, and we covered also who the good guys and bad guys were in that. And I probably got into a little bit more biblically oriented things in that than I usually do. But it's the same thing to me. It's all the same thing to me at this point. The Bible is the reality. What's in the Bible is the truth, as best I can tell. Now, don't get me wrong. I actually am very flexible in my thinking, and I brainstorm quite a bit. And so, is it possible that the Bible is not true? Is it possible that it's all a setup? Is it possible we've all been had? Well, the problem is, to a certain extent, all of that is kind of true in certain ways. Think about it. What did Joshua say? What were the 2 things he said on 2 occasions? What was his advice? He said, be not deceived. I'm thinking in terms of the old King James English. I got to read the new one more. And what else did he say? Hold your ground. So be not deceived means, hey, the deception is going to be pretty great, or you are at great risk of being deceived. And it's like, I look out there and have to say, I know I'm deceived. I know it's hard to avoid. I mean, most all of our educational systems, professions, most all of our science, most all has been politicized and is a bunch of lies. Any knowledge that's been obscured, could be obscured, has been obscured. Look at the terms. Look at the definitions in a profession, and you will see things that don't make much sense, or the opposite of what you would expect they would be. And then the other part was, hold your ground. Stand your ground. What does that mean? Just argue for your intellectual position? Well, yeah. Does it mean defend yourself? Yes, it does mean that. So that's the advice right there of Yahshua. Be not deceived, and the deception is great today. And if we look at 2 Thessalonians 4, I think I got that one in my memory banks correctly. It says, shall send you a great deception. And I've got to do a little bit of a word study on the word a, because according to Pastor Jerry Wickey, it was mistranslated, and it should be the word the. Of course, he was working from a Greek perspective on that. You see, most of us have been told, and most of us believe, that the New Testament was written in Greek. I don't believe that at this point. I think some of it might have been written in Greek. Anything for the Greeks probably was written in Greek. Anything written to the Hebrews, I don't know. Well, it's possible it was all written in Greek, because the Israelites were in dispersion after the attack by the Assyrians and then the attack by the Babylonians. They went into, at 722, they were in captivity for 70 years, for 7 decades, and then they were released. The Israelites proper went north across the Caucasus Mountains, hence were called Caucasians, and broke into Europe and the rest of the world. That's pretty straight ahead. There are some cases in which we didn't go across the Caucasus Mountains. We went around them. We took other routes, and at other times. And that's very important to realize. So sometimes when we read these absolute terms, absolute historical facts written in the Bible, that there's minor exceptions to it. For instance, the crown princess, when she was hauled up on the ship, by Jeremiah they landed on the northern coast of Ireland. She married a man whose family had been in dispersion before the Exodus, before going into Egypt, as a matter of fact. That man she married was a descendant of the other twin, Zerah. Remember the story. If you don't know it, you need to know it. Every word of the midwife in the Bible, every word is prophetic. That's powerful stuff. So basically, if you don't know the story, Tamar, Tamar, Judah's daughter-in-law, waited at the crossroads dressed as a shrine prostitute, purposely to seduce Judah, because Judah didn't give her the son according to the Israelite custom, the Israelite laws. Now, I don't find that written very explicitly in the Bible, so I wonder about that. As we were talking about that, I realize it. I don't know where that's at or how that's gotten. That's almost one of those things taught that maybe isn't accurate, but I think it's accurate. So basically, if the husband died, then the brother stepped in, and according to some accounts took her for a wife, according to some accounts had children in the name, and those children were in the name of his brother, so his lineage would not die out. You got to remember that there were 2 boys in the Bible. One was Er, and Er died. And then there was another brother named Onan. And Onan died. And Yahweh later says he put them both to death. Well, Onan is the guy that had sex, apparently with Tamar, and rolled over and spilled his seed on the ground. So in other words, he withheld the seed from her and failed to do his duty, and Yahweh killed him. Killed both boys. By the way, those 2 boys were sons of Judah, and they were from an Edomite woman. So they were mixed seed. They had some of dare we call it the holy seed? Yeah, you tell me. But they definitely had some of the devil's seed. They had some of Cain's seed in them, which he got from his father Gadriel, one of the 5 leaders of the fallen angels. You don't believe me? Go look it up in Wikipedia. Google it. Gadriel. Gadreel. From that, we get the short nickname Gad. I can't explain this as well as the pastor explained it to me. Paul Burnham. And then, so we get Gad, God, and then from that we got God. which basically became kind of a category, if you will. It became a noun referring to, oh, there were different, you've got your God, I've got my God, this nation's got the God of whatever, the other one's got the God of the wooden knothead they carved out of that old oak tree or whatever it was, and this one's got a God made of stone. So it became a category. Don't chew that, go eat your food. She didn't eat her food yesterday at breakfast. And the rule is here, you don't get anything else put in your bowl. And I guess she's made it on the snacks I give her. So too many snacks. So no more snacks until she eats her food. Down. That's not what I said. What did I say? Yeah, good girl. I need to spend more time with her. Okay, where were we at? We were talking about quite a bit of stuff, and I got carried away there. And what I was telling you was that Judah had given his first son, Er, to Tamar for her husband, and he died. And as a result of Israelite tradition, the other son was given to her, and he also was put to death by Yahweh. And then he had a third son, and Judah didn't want to lose his third son. That was part of it. But he also was violating the law or the tradition. I don't have that clarified in writing, so don't hold me to what that is. It wasn't an ordinance. It was something, but we don't know what it was. It's probably in one of the extra biblical books. So, he had an excuse, and he told Tamar, wait until the boy is old enough, and then you can have him. I'll give them to you. Well, when she saw, and this is biblical, so we've got good data on this, that he didn't live up to his word because the boy grew up, she waited, the boy grows a little bit more, and when she saw he didn't give this other boy, by the way, and the other boy was actually from one of his Israelite wives, so she actually was not of mixed lineage, of mixed seed. She didn't have any devil DNA in her. You got to understand what the original sin was. Genesis 6:2, go look it up. That's the original sin. You men and women need to get off each other's backs blaming each other for the original sin. The original sin was perpetrated by the fallen angels. Okay? That's who perpetrated it. It was a grand conspiracy done on Mount Hermon. Even Yahshua took his disciples to Mount Hermon, mentioned one time in the Bible. It's like a brief blip. That's very important because it was the sin at Mount Hermon that was planned there, that grand conspiracy, if you will. I hate to use the word grand, but the big conspiracy. And the fallen angels, 200 of them, I think that's in a book somewhere. The artwork shows 60 of them. And of course, the Bible says 1/3 of the heavenly host, 1/3 of the angels were thrown out of heaven. Others say thrown to the earth. Anyway, that's the original sin. You need to get that straight. So you are getting my overview of the world today, not just as of yesterday, because we're dealing with the same people today. They are literally the DNA offspring of a fallen angel. And as a matter of fact, we only have the story of one of those 200 fallen angels. So there's a lot more to it. Okay? It's as clear as I can make it. I can't be any more honest with you in that regard. Tamar seeing that Judah had not lived up to his word to give her a husband so that she could carry on the family name, she dressed up and disguised herself as a shrine prostitute and went to the crossroads that she knew Judah would be traveling through when he come back from doing his merchant business, whatever it was. And she waited, dressed up in veils and stuff, at that corner. And sure as hell, Judah shows up. Yeah, she planned it. Tamar was shrewd. And then he made a deal with her. And as a result became pregnant from her father-in-law, Judah. I think it was a smart thing to do, by the way, because we would not have had the Messiah otherwise. So, Tamar gets pregnant. I didn't know we'd be talking about this morning, but it's a nice story. Tamar gets pregnant, and Judah sends his top man over, see what's happening, what's going on, what's with Tamar. He heard that the people wanted to stone her to death because she had played the harlot. I don't know. I've read a few versions of the Bible, so you got to forgive me if I don't remember which words come out of which version. And so Judah's man goes over, and Tamar says, "Oh, the man who's the father of the child belongs to these. These belong to him." And she holds out Judah's lanyard, the signet ring, and the seal. There were 3 items that he gave her in pledge, and she asked for something in pledge because he promised her a young kid, a young goat, for sex. It was an act of prostitution. And when Judah sent his man back to the shrine, back with a goat to pay the woman, she wasn't there. She was nowhere to be found. And this is in the Bible, so there's good data on this. And of course, the man went and asked everybody else. Now, I don't remember if it was Judah himself or his man that went there. I'd have to take a look at that again. But anyway, the local people told him, "Shrine prostitute? What shrine prostitute? There's never been a prostitute here." And then, a few months later, there's the people pointing out that she's got the baby bump. It's out of wedlock. She's played the harlot. They want to stone her to death because that is the law, and the people have to do it. That's the law as well. And of course, it's written in absolute terms, so everybody has to do it. Everybody's got to go pick up a rock, and that's not the way to look at that, because not everybody was going to be handy. Not everybody was going to be inclined to pick up a rock either. So they had to represent Israel, and they did it basically as a nation. You violated God's law. This is what's going to happen to you. Okay. And when Judah's man returned to him with his lanyard, his signet ring, his seal, the implements by which he did business, to sign contracts, Judah's response was, "She's been more honorable than I have." And he allowed her to live. And then a few months later, weeks, whatever, it's not specified in there, she gives birth to 2 boys, to twins. And the first twin, since they know there's twins, they want to mark the oldest child. Okay, so the midwife is there with a scarlet thread, a red thread she's going to put around this child's wrist in order to mark the baby so they would know which one was firstborn. Which one gets those inheritance rights, which one is the oldest. And remember, the oldest son, it is only the oldest son that's allowed to make the sacrifice on behalf of the family. That's why we have a problem with the 2 boys, Abel and Cain. They both made sacrifice because they had different fathers. And so they were each at the firstborn. Different fathers. Anyway, get back to the story we were at. Tamar gives birth to boys. The first one puts his hand out. The midwife immediately puts the red thread around the wrist, ties it, and he pulls it back inside. And you read the words because they were all prophetic words. The midwife did say some incredible things. Are we making too much of the Bible? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think we're getting into it far enough, to be honest with you. Anyway, the other brother comes out first. And that was, so the first brother was named Zerah, meaning the seed, the oldest. He goes back in, and his brother pops out named Pharez, which means a breach. Broke the breach. And so there was argument between Zerah and Pharez. So Zerah felt cheated. And, because Pharez was apparently given that honor. And of course, by the time Israel goes to Egypt, there's only 70 souls going to Egypt. And if we look at it carefully, Zerah and his sons were not listed. Zerah had 5 boys, and they were noted as being intelligent, and they were compared later to Solomon in terms of intelligence. So he had 5 boys, and apparently they left, and they did not go to Egypt. So this throws a little monkey wrench in the New Testament saying, when Yahshua, your Jesus, my Yahshua, when he confronts a certain group of in the temple, and they were Jews, called that at the time. I think that means Judahites, though. There's a little confusion on what that term really means and what Judahites mean as well. He confronted them, and they told them they had never been slaves. And of course, all the Israelites, at least the vast bulk, had been slaves in Egypt. And he says, you're right, but you say you never were slaves. Because they weren't Israelites. They were Edomites, basically. The Edomites, by the time the Messiah shows up, had been mainstreamed into the population. That occurred in about 143 BC. John Hyrcanus gave the Edomites an ultimatum. Either you be circumcised and convert and worship the one true God, which is also kind of what Shem did with his nephew, Canaan, or I'm going to kill you, put you to death. In the story of Shem, it gave rise to the secret societies. That's the history of how those arose. According to Eustace Mullins was a great researcher. He was no Bible scholar, but he had a job in the National Library. He set up a cot there. He slept there until the FBI escorted him out. He slept there, and he got the new manuscripts, the new books being submitted to the Library of Congress. So he got to see and classify books as they came in. And some of those books probably never made it to the shelves. Anyway, what I was getting at before is that the crown princess, Teah, Tamar, was hauled out, saved by Jeremiah. And when she got up to the northern coast of Ireland, the rain. When she got up to the northern coast of Ireland, there was an Israelite already there in dispersion. He was the chief there. And she fell in love with the chief. Now, you got to remember, this is the crown princess. Her brothers have all been destroyed. She is the heir apparent. She's inheriting the throne. Then you have to also remember that Ezekiel talks about the eagle plucking the tender twig off the topmost of the cedar tree. And that's in feminine language. And he takes this twig and transplants it. And it says there, I shall turn over, turn over, turn over. 3 times. And we take that to mean that the crown was turned over 3 times, which it indeed was. And the first turnover, it also says, Ezekiel says, and he made the low branch high and the high branch low. Because at that point, Zerah, who had been on the outskirts, quite literally, all the way up there in Ireland, it's quite a ways from Israel in the Middle East. It was all the way up there in dispersion for a long time. And his low branch, he basically became king at that point. And she gave him that title by that marriage, basically. And Jeremiah also Then they hauled the Pillowstone over to Scotland. That was the second turnover. And then from Scotland to England, that's the third turnover. Now the Pillowstone, the coronation stone, was built into a chair. I know a fellow who touched it, went over there and put his hands on it. He snuck over to touch the thing. Now that's Jacob's Pillowstone that was hauled up there by Jeremiah. The next king, they got to get that chair out. I think it might be in Edinburgh. I'm not sure about that. They've got to get that. He's got to be coronated king on that, just like everybody else in that royal family. Actually, he's not in the royal family. His family, a couple of generations back, stole that throne. So he's not really entitled to that. But he's going to be crowned on it. I have no doubt about that. I can't believe he's going to be king. If Princess Diana had not screwed up, and if the Queen hadn't had her killed, who knows at this point who would be on there. I guess it still would be Charles. Hey, lay down. Lay down. Kennel. Stay in the kennel. Stay. Yeah. It's not going to stay unless I put the door closed. Go eat your food. Are you hungry? Go eat your food. Trying to get a dog to eat. She's had a bit of an upset stomach for a while, so I think I'm going to restrict her treats. Something's not been going right with her. I wish they could talk to us and tell us what's wrong. Or what they're feeling, at least. Okay. So, my worldview is that we today are dealing with the Edomites. Remember, they went into dispersion when Joshua went into the land of Canaan. He didn't destroy all of them. He didn't follow Yahweh's orders. Not completely. And as a matter of fact, the Gibeonites actually conned him and made a deal so that he would end up protecting them. So he failed on that. He failed to seek Yahweh's will on that. I mean, that's one thing I guess I should point out is that failure I have, a failure that we have, and a failure of Joshua's back then was that he failed to seek Yahweh's will when it came to the Gibeonites, and they approached him dressed up like they were from a land afar when they were their neighbors next door, and they showed up with molded bread and real warm clothes, and basically conned Joshua. And Joshua honored his word on that. I don't know if that was a good idea or not. It was fraud, so I guess he didn't really have to when I think about it today as I tell you about this. So, we've covered a large amount. I hope this makes up for the lack of anything yesterday, except you will see that I've got a two-part. I got a phone call from a dear close friend, so I took that, and I ended up with two parts, a short intro part, and then I put that up anyway. I restarted it, but I realized this really lays the foundation for where I wanted to go. And the basic premise was that the 14th Amendment took away our citizenship. It had a direct effect of making Negroes 3/5 of a man for the purposes of being able to continue domination of the North, of the South by the North. And they were afraid that if they counted the population and counted each black as a whole man, that they were going to have more congressmen and out-represent and dominate the North. So in their wisdom, the North, while it was occupying the South, appointed the senators in Congress for the South to represent the South. Therefore, the South did not have representation for the 14th and 15th Amendments. They are illegal, unconstitutional, because there was not representation. And there was no such thing known as a citizen of the United States until the 14th Amendment. We were regarded, and we regarded ourselves, everybody as citizens from their states. So you were a citizen from your state. So if you were born in New Hampshire, you're a citizen of New Hampshire. If you're born in Kentucky, citizen of Kentucky. That's the way it was and should be. If we're landed citizens, we're covered by the Constitution. And if we're not, we're covered by maritime law, and they've set us to sea. They've given us birth certificates, B-E-R-T-H, and they treat us as if we're dead and we're lost. And they have all kinds of weird trusts set up to defraud us. So we are in a slave society. It's not a free world. Talk about deception. It's very deceiving to say that we're free people. I don't think we are. I think we have a task before us. And that task is actually to get ourselves straight and hopefully get ourselves in order, thereby saving the world quite literally. Not figuratively, but literally. I think that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we should be striving to do. And I know a lot of you are going to say the Word of God. Well, it's the Word of Yahweh. Yahweh is His name. Other gods are Molech and Baal. So whose God is it? That's an important thing. And when you read the Bible, they've done some changing on some of those names. I mean, the word God was translated from other words, and that error was made in 275 BC by Ptolemy II, who was in Alexandria, and at the time he was producing the Septuagint, the Greek Bible. He was translating the Old Testament into Greek. And he changed things. He changed it from Yahweh to God. Now, why he did that, I don't know. I don't understand it. I understand why he produced a Greek Bible. The Israelites were in dispersion. Most of the Israelites had been Hellenized and were speaking Greek by then. 275 BC, yeah. When you think about it, 650 is about when the Hellenization started. A couple, 3 centuries later, there we are, speaking Greek. I do believe the New Testament was originally written in Aramaic. I'm not sure about that. I've got to look at it. There was a great mathematician in England, and he said he had read the New Testament in both the Hebrew and the Aramaic, and we know darn well that it wasn't taken from Greek and translated into Aramaic. So it had to be originally in Aramaic and translated into Greek. So that's one of those big things that we need to research and discuss right now. I don't know what your opinion is on that. If you've got some clear-cut indication, then do put it in the comments for the rest of us. I mean, really, please provide us with that. If you've got a good, clear-cut indication, that the Bible, the New Testament, was not originally in Greek, we're going to want to know that, because that means that the Aramaic is going to be more accurate, and if we can get a hold of that, that's going to be even more important yet. I got to make a call and find out a little bit more about that myself. But I do have the best Bible today. It's Modern English, 2015. Look down below in the notes here. You'll see a link. Go there. You want to support me and my channel, buy my Bibles. It's the most important thing you could do. You want to save your nation and yourself, read the Bibles. Learn the name of Yahweh. Learn the name of Yahshua. Why? First Amendment. You'll have no other gods before me. Great. Then you better know his name, don't you think? I mean, if you're supposed to have, that's the idea. And so we've got the name Yahweh restored in its proper place in this Bible. And yes, it is awkward when you first start reading it. I admit it freely. It is awkward. It's like, what is this? This is different. And the only way that you can get used to it and learn his name is by reading it and getting used to it. And this Bible will definitely do it. I highly recommend the large print ones. There's even a tab version. If you're a beginner, get the tab version. There's some slightly smaller Bibles. It's still good sized print, but just not quite as big. There's 5 different formats available there at the drop-down box. All my Bibles end in the cost 77 cents, and then I have been assured that these are the lowest prices anywhere available. So that's the way it is. I haven't sold many of them. I really do want to sell more. I'd like to be able to cover my expenses on this channel. I'd like to go much further than that. Be honest with you, my ambition is to sell 1 million Bibles. We have 400 million in the country. We include the illegals among us. Selling 1 million Bibles seems possible. It seems realistic. How many guns are there in the nation? Oh, probably more than 400 million. I mean, we've had the best gun salesman in office for the last few presidencies. This one's no different. I think the best gun salesman of all time was Barack Hussein Obama, and with good reason. We are headed for some really rough times. You may not realize it, but history has repeated itself, and I believe that we Israelites are in captivity once again, only it's very sophisticated. They've deceived us. They have superimposed a foreign jurisdiction upon us so that we no longer are landed citizens of our states. We are no longer free men under the Constitution, under common law. I'm going to end it right there. We've gone long enough. Can't quite read the minutes up there, but it looks like it might be a full hour for all I know. I'm going to look at it. Lorraine. Such a good girl. Come on up here. Okay, no, we've only gone 37 minutes, and I think it's a good idea to give you a short one today. I will try to do this every day. Do like, do subscribe, do comment, share these videos. I can't ask much more than that. My calling is to bring out this new Bible, which I think is the greatest improvement in the Bible since the 1611 King James. A distant member of my family oversaw the production of the King James Bible and brought that to the world. So I feel very much like history repeats itself, and I get to bring a new version. No, I didn't participate in the committees on this. The only thing I did was suggest a large print version, which we have today, in black leatherette or brown leatherette. And these Bibles are for sale at about half the going rate, less than half than what the competitor wants. And this beats the heck out of all the other Bibles. It does have the Spirit in it. It is far more accurate. Okay. Yahweh bless America. Tune into my other channel, the Dr. Kent Show. I've got about twice as many viewers there. I am not going to commercialize this one. I may commercialize that one. We'll see. Support me. Buy my Bibles. I don't ask for donations. I don't seek for those at all, because I want to give you more value than you give me. And I think that my Bible's worth about 3 times what you're paying for it. I think these Bibles really should be going for 3 times what they're going for. But don't get me wrong, I don't want to be jacking the prices up that high at all. The most important thing is to get these Bibles out there and for you to read them. It's the only way you're going to be able to overcome the evil of today and get through it properly. Well, that's just my opinion. It certainly helps me. Yahweh bless America, and may we work with Yahweh, turn to Yahweh, and restore our republic.